We're a team that had the tag of dangerous or team to watch for 97, talking about the playoffs, but here they are, losers of 6 in a row, and they've got injury problems to boot, especially on a defense that has not gotten the job done so far.
Yeah, injury problems and also attitude problems. We talked to Ashley Ambrose, the cornerback, who went to the Pro Bowl last year. We said, who's going to step up and take over this defense? He paused, he hesitated, couldn't think of anybody, and finally said, well, maybe I will.
Not only defensive problems in terms of injuries for the Bengals, there are other injury notes as well. For that, let's go down to the field and Len Berman.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. In the Giants' backfield, Tiki Barber with his knee is out. He definitely won't play. Tyrone Wheatley with a sore shoulder will be in the starting lineup. Now, several weeks ago, we saw the Jets in Cincinnati keep the ball an astounding 42 minutes and 50 seconds against the Cincinnati defense. So despite the fact the Giants won a week ago in overtime with the long bomb from Danny Kannell to Chris Callaway, I look for the Giants to try to pound it out against the Cincinnati defense, which hasn't been able to stop a thing on the ground. We'll be back with the Giants and the Bengals from Giants Stadium, the opening kickoff coming up in just a minute.
Gets up at about the 25-yard line, where he's taken down there. Marco Battaglia after the 18-yard return. And there's your starting quarterback for the New York Giants, his third straight start. He's 2-0 thus far. And his offensive line, led by Roman Oben at left tackle, who has really had a terrific year. He was a big question mark starting the season, and he has played well, as is the entire line in recent weeks. Wheatley and Way, the running backs. Callaway, the big game last week with Alexander, and the veteran Howard Cross at the tight end. Way, the lone setback to start, and Charles Way gets the call and rumbles all the way up to about the 35-yard line. A 10-yard pickup for Charles Way. And the Cincinnati defense, which has really struggled, especially up front. Wilkinson and Van Alhoff regular starters. Andre Purvis starts for the injured John Copeland today. The linebacking crew, Francis, Tumulty, McDonald, and Dixon. And the secondary, very up and down. Ambrose and Paul, the quarterbacks, Sam Shade and Greg Myers are the safeties. Aaron Pierce goes in motion. Kannell, his first throw of the day. Callaway has it at the 42 and scoots up to the 45-yard line.
Ashley Ambrose told us yesterday there are two things that we have to do. We have to stop the run, and believe it or not, we have to stop Chris Callaway. Where after 2 plays, they haven't been able to stop the run. They haven't been able to stop Chris Callaway. That time, Danny Kannell looked right. He was looking for his tight end combination. Came back to Chris Callaway, a guy who always seems to do the right things on the football field. Ike Hilliard came in here this year. He was supposed to take over the starting job. Last year it was Amani Toomer. Well, all that Chris Callaway has done is catch more passes in a Giant uniform than any wide receiver in history for the New York Giants.
And that is 33rd reception of the year. He's got 4 touchdowns already this season. That equals his career high. Giants 2 plays, 2 first downs. Tyrone Wheatley, and Wheatley with a big hole. Another first down for the Giants, finally brought down by Tito Paul and Greg Myers. 14-yard pickup for Wheatley.
You know, everybody's slapping Tyrone Wheatley on the back, but all the credit there has to go to Howard Cross and Scott Gregg. Open up a huge gaping hole on the right side of the line. Tyrone Wheatley, Jim Fossil said, this guy has so much talent, but sometimes he runs like a lightweight.
Kannell, quick throw, Kevin Alexander. Alexander still on his feet. Finally brought down at the 23 by Tito Paul. A 17-yard pickup, 4 plays, 4 first downs.
And that's also a theme. The New York Giants caught us still talking that time, but their theme is get in the huddle quickly, get up to the line of scrimmage quickly, and then for Danny Kannell to deliver the ball quickly. So it's not a no-huddle offense like he ran to Florida State, but very quick tempo.
And Fossil, who's done a terrific job, loves Kannell's demeanor. Wheatley fumbles, and wisely just falls on it. And Giants catch a break there as Wheatley able to recover. It'll be 2nd and long. You mentioned about the up-tempo offense. That's something Danny Kannell is certainly used to doing, but let's take a look at Wheatley.
Yeah, and we saw this happen Friday at practice, this same play. Fossil got on the guys. He told them, you know, you may not be concentrating. Let's get your head in. Let's get focused. A lot of times that can happen to a running back because he's looking at the defense. He's not looking at that ball. He's watching the defense to see what they're doing.
We see the Giants, their opening drive throughout the season. Kannell on a blitz. Callaway reverses. Almost breaks the tackle, but Sam Shade able to trip him up. Down at about the 23-yard line.
You know, the longer you watch Chris Callaway, I think the more that you tend to appreciate him. 5 feet 10 inches tall. When he came into the league, he ran 4.55 in the 40. That doesn't put you at the top of any scouting combine list. But what he just has a knack and a feel for the game. He's got to be one of the toughest guys out there because he plays that inside slot receiver. He gets it done working amongst the big people.
Dick LeBeau, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, watching the Giants move down the field. Quick throw, Callaway, broken up. An incomplete pass, and now a flag is thrown. Coming in late, Ashley Ambrose.
Only thing I can think is if the blow was delivered at Callaway's head.
Ambrose looking for an explanation. And it's interference.
Yeah, and if I'm Ashley Ambrose, I look just as bewildered as he did right
Pass
there.
interference, number 33 on the defense. That's the first down.
I mean, the ball's in the air. There's a hit afterwards. There was no contact that disrupted Chris Callaway's route before that.
Unless he's holding him. There it is.
Yeah, that's in that 5-yard area. That's that garden variety, just barely touching the guy.
And, you know, he didn't look like he really grabbed him. Kind of just had his hand there. Giants now at the 15. Charles Way bounces off James Francis and falls down. Charles Way back-to-back games over 90 yards, setting career highs.
Ron Stone a little slow getting up after that play, Mike. And you know, it's one thing you watch your offensive linemen from the sideline. You need to watch if they're in the game, if they can continue, because sometimes a guy can get nicked up and they're so stubborn they don't want to come out of the ball game.
Second down and 12. Giants have been very effective in the red zone this season. Kannell throws. Misfires Alexander, the intended receiver, and Tito Paul on the coverage. And there you see they've scored on all but once in the red zone, 14 of them touchdowns.
Yeah, and good numbers, especially the touchdown ratio. A lot of times teams will get down here, they'll have that number up around 70%, just getting in the red zone, but they're kicking field goals, and those things can just crush a team.
There you see Jim Foster. You could call him Jim Focus. We spoke with him the other day. He must have used the word focus at least a dozen times. That is what he preaches to his team. That's what he preached to them all this week. Despite playing a 1-6 team, they had to stay focused. 3rd and 12. Kannell shotgun. Looks incomplete. Bengals doing a nice job that time. Callaway, the intended receiver, Corey Sawyer, and Bo Orlando on the coverage.
Yeah, you know, he's been looking solely at Callaway. It's really time for the other guys to step up, for Kevin Alexander, David Patton, Amani Toomer, to kind of carry their part of the burden of the passing game. This isn't just Chris Callaway. He's a good, competent receiver, but you need the other guys to also contribute. Dalowiso
with a 35-yarder. He's perfect from 40 yards or less this season at 5 for 5. And Dalowiso had a couple of long field goals last week in the victory over the Lions. Gets the Giants on the board. Giants score on their first possession, 3-0 first quarter.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Reminds you, fresh beer tastes better. By the 1998 Honda Accord, an Accord like no other. By UPS, the official package delivery company of the NFL. And by the Edge Pizza, new from Pizza Hut. Have you been to the Edge?
Overcast, chilly afternoon in New Jersey. And there's a threat of rain later on. Weather can always create havoc here at Giant Stadium as Dalowiso, after his 35-yard field goal. Line drive on the kickoff. Eric Bieniemy on the return. And Bieniemy knocked around, finally taken down at about the 33-yard line. 31-yard return. Scott Gallion on the tackle, and Jeff Blake, who's heard chants of Boomer, but Bruce Coslett says he will not change starting quarterbacks. It's not the best thing for his team. The offensive line, which has struggled. The tackles both in their second year, so inexperienced there. Regina Carter playing with a torn rotator cuff. Milne the fullback. Pickens, Scott the wide receivers, and Tony McGee at the tight end.
Tony McGee is a guy that Jeff Blake needs to get to know again.
They'll start at their own 34. Good field position. Regina Carter with a nice run on first down. Gets across the 40. Corey Whitmer on the tackle. Let's take a look at the Giant defense. They have been terrific thus far in 97. The front four Michael Strahan already 7 sacks. Robert Harris, Keith Hamilton, and Chad Bratsky. The linebacker, Armstead, Widmer, and Miller have played very well. Sparks and Sehorn, the corners. Garnes, the rookie, and Tito Wooten, very underrated at the safety. Carter on the pitch, and Tito Wooten runs him out of bounds up near midfield. And Kajana Carter, who's earned a lot of respect from his teammates, playing hurt with that torn rotator cuff, with 2 impressive runs.
And I think he has earned a lot of respect from other players around the league. A guy who got hurt during the preseason of his rookie year 3 years ago, had to sit out most of that year. People would have said, oh, torn rotator cuff, he's out again. He's toughing it out and playing some good football.
First down at midfield. Carter gets the call again, runs into his lineman, breaks 1 tackle, and dives to about the 47-yard line. Corey Miller.
And Kajana Carter did a good job that time. That could have easily have been a loss of 4 or 5. Now they end up with a second and puts us a long 7 yards. So that doesn't look like much on the stat sheet, but what it does is it enables them to continue on with their regular offense.
Blake with his first throw, battered down by Michael Strahan at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and Strahan almost caught that ball. He went up, got his hands on that thing. It seemed like it bounced around in there like it was in a box or something. He just lays back off the line of scrimmage. And this is what the Bengals line did last week against Cordell Stewart. If they couldn't get pressure, they made sure that they elevated. And Blake's not the tallest guy in the world, so if you can't get to him, get your hands up.
3rd and 7. Bengals offense is taking a while to get in gear. They have not been a first quarter explosive offense. Blake across the middle, James Hunden, and he's got a lot of room to run. Runs out of bounds, shy of the 25, a 21-yard pickup and a first down.
Yeah, you could call this maybe the year of the little man. You look around the league, a lot of these smallish running backs are coming in and playing really big. Eric Bieniemy, that time, is matched up against a linebacker, and he just holds him out. He gets up under him. Well, he's going to get up under anybody because he's only 5'7". When he gets under him, he gets a nice block on him.
That catch from Hunden, his first reception of the season, former Division II player at Portland State. Blake, chased by Strahan, gets it away and throws it out of bounds.
Strahan is one of those guys who, when you look at everything that the Giants are doing this year, you check your roster, you go, well, I guess he is a pretty good player. What he has tremendous speed. The Bengals fake to the left. Blake rolls out. He wanted to hit McGee. McGee gets tangled up, and then he just turns on his jets. He gets after this guy. A lot of speed to run down a guy like Jeff Blake.
2nd and 10. They stay on the ground. Strahan makes the tackle on Carter.
2 big plays in a row for Strahan. That time he beat the tight end, Tony McGee. Just works back across his face. This is a Giant team. You look at them, there are 11 different players on this team that have sacks. They get after the quarterback. Fox has employed a very aggressive scheme. They line up in the 4-3. They come after you and try and get in your face.
Bengals looking for their first points on the opening drive. 3rd and 7. Blake looks for the end zone, flag down. Darnay Scott, the intended receiver. Felipe Sparks right there on the coverage, but a penalty marker as Eric Bieniemy and Michael Strahan getting involved.
I told you, it's the year of the little guy. These guys, they don't realize how small they are. They put on the helmet, the shoulder pads, all that. And there's Al Roberts, the special teams coach, getting in his face. This isn't what you want early in the ball game. You don't want to get them riled up for no reason. It's one thing to get after guys, and it's funny.
Holding, number 22 on the defense. The 5-yard penalty, first down.
And you see Al Roberts going out there after him. Now, Al Roberts may not be the running back coach, but he's the special teams coach, and that is the primary function of Bieniemy. So he's one of Bieniemy's guys. He may not coach him, as a position guy, but he's his coach. He's the special teams guy.
And Bieniemy's the special teams captain. So on the Sparks penalty, 1st and 10. 8th play of the drive. The Bengals moving the football. Blake dumps it off to Carter. Carter runs down to about the 3-yard line. Tito Wooten and Jason Sehorn in on the tackle. A 15-yard pickup. And the Cincinnati offense looking sharp early on.
And the thing that I like, after Kannell Carter catches the football, he does that pointing. You know, that's one of the things you used to see back in the old days. A guy would point, you block this guy, you block the other guy, and he's pointing downfield. And if you're a defensive guy, you think somebody's coming to block because the guy's pointing.
First and goal at the 3. Carter. Stopped. Just shy of the goal line. And a second and short coming up. Bengals have struggled in the red zone. One of the actually, when they're in the red zone, they've done a decent job. They just don't get there.
They've only been down there 11 times, and this is week. You know, this is their 8th ball game. You know, a little more than once a game they get down there with a chance to score points. That's the thing. You look at, they're the second lowest scoring team in the NFL. They have a lot of talent on that team. They just can't score points.
There's an eligible receiver, 77.
Kevin Sargent in as an eligible receiver. Corey Dillon is now in the backfield. Dillon leaps into the end zone. Touchdown, Cincinnati. And Bruce Coslett sees his team score on their opening drive for the first time this season.
And Corey Dillon is a guy who is playing with a dislocated kneecap. You know, we talked about Kannell Carter. We would expect that a team at 1-6 would just mail it in. That wasn't the attitude of it. When we talked to Jeff Blake, so positive, so focused, we couldn't believe it. We thought it was an act.
Pelfrey for the extra point. And the Cincinnati Bengals, the perfect scenario for them in terms of the start. They've lost 6 in a row. They wanted a quick start here at Giant Stadium. Dillon with the touchdown, 7-3 Bengals. 22-year-old rookie Corey Dillon, number 28, who scores on a 1-yard run. The second-round pick out of Washington gives the Bengals the completion to a very impressive opening drive. Pelfrey with a short kick. Pegram up across the 30. And Pegram all the way up to the 39-yard line. Gerald Dixon brings him down. A 25-yard return. Danny Kannell and the Giants had a field goal in their first possession. Second time around now. Keith Hamilton of the Giant defense figuring out what went wrong on their first drive. Bengals lead 7-3. Giants with excellent field position at their own 38. Charles Way. Way gets up near the 44. Greg Myers on the tackle. And Charles Way, who is really coming on without question, as you see, Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson, but Charles Way, the most respected player on this Giant team.
Yeah, he really is. And Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson is the defensive captain. As a defensive captain, you need to stand up. You know, you don't get blown out, turned around backwards. He's 12th on this team in tackles. 12th. There are only 11 starters.
Second and 5. After Way's pickup, Wheatley on the pitch. Myers in pursuit. Greg Myers with a strong play. Tackle for a loss. All right, now let's go across the river. Get an NFL update back in New York with Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, Mike, in Washington, Gus Frerotte of the Redskins has answered a Vinny Testaverde touchdown pass with one of his own, 15 yards to Leslie Shepard, who catches it just before he leaves the end zone with the extra point. The Skins and the Ravens are tied at 7. Mike?
You know, that is one of my favorite things when I see a receiver work his feet before he goes out of bounds. You know, a lot of guys catch the ball, that big step, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like they're still in college.
Impressive catch. 3rd and 10 after the nice play by Myers. Kannell fires, incomplete. There's Andre Collins right there on Callaway. Some pushing and shoving afterwards. And Collins with a nice breakup.
But has he thrown the ball to anyone other than Callaway? You really do need to mix this offense up, because what happens, the other receivers, they just start to run just to run patterns, not trying to get open any longer.
Brad Maynard, a 3rd-round pick out of Ball State, will kick off to Myers. Myers playing very well on defense, and he's their punt returner, standing back at his own 11.
You make adjustments during the course of the game. If they've changed something from what you see, you get on it right away. You don't wait until halftime when you're really getting a hot dog and something to drink.
Giants had a 3 and out. Kannell trying to adjust. Bengals at their own 16. To Kannell Carter. And Carter gets up to about the 17. Tito Wooten and Corey Widmer in on the stop. Let's go down to the field and Len Berman.
Well, Mike, you might have seen Corey Miller on the line waving his arms up, trying to get the crowd to make some noise. That seems to be a problem here. A lot of teams have a 12th man with the crowd. This place is basically quiet. Now the Giants are behind, but we were here for the Baltimore Giants game, and the Giants on the bench spent half the game playing cheerleader. This is a quiet home Giants stadium, Mike.
Normally not the case at Giants Stadium. Some of the most loyal fans in the country as Blake throws it downfield. Incomplete, intended for Pickens. Jason Sehorn with him every step of the way.
Yeah, and I don't like that matchup. As good as Carl Pickens is, you take Jason Sehorn, who is one of the more athletic corners in the NFL. 6'2", 210 pounds, runs the 40 and under 4.4. Second-round pick when he came here out of USC. They didn't know whether to play him at safety or at corner. Since they put him out at corner, he has really blossomed into a fine player.
On the verge of a Pro Bowl. Crowd now suddenly into it on 3rd and 8. Blake under pressure. Keith Hamilton. Hamilton now with 5.5 sacks on the season.
A play that just took a little too long to develop against a very good Giant pass rushing team. You know, there's not one guy who gets there first. 3 guys converge on him. It's like happy hour. Everybody show up at Jeff Blake.
28th time Blake has been sacked. He has taken a lot of hits this year. The veteran Lee Johnson on the punt. And a very short punt off the side of his foot. David Patton scampering around and ducks down at about the 48-yard line. 43-yard punt. It's a nice bounce. Greg Truitt takes him down. Amani Toomer, by the way, on the punt return. And once again, some extracurricular activity. So Keith Hamilton with a big sack. Giants have the ball in excellent field position. Follow the NFL season online at NBCSports.com. A frequent place where I know you hook up in, Mr. Lofton. This week, the NFL insider Gil Brandt previews the field for Rookie of the Year honors. Any tips this week, sir?
Well, you know, I didn't bring my laptop on the road this week. I went down hotel. They have this little business area. I snuck in the business area like I was a business guy and got on the computer and sat there and played on the web for a while.
1st and 10 at the Bengal 49. Play fake from Kannell. Looks downfield. And out of bounds. Intended for Patton. And Kannell is, last week, even in the game against the Lions, made all the big plays, but overthrew a lot of receivers. Even admitted he didn't throw the ball all that well at times.
It seems like he's able to, or has been in the 2 starts so far, to make the plays that count. They didn't have a lot of offense last week against the Lions, but obviously the big play in overtime, and he kept them in the ballgame during the course of the game.
Flag on the play. Charles Way getting outside. Way knocked out of bounds. Eventually, Tom Tumulty runs him out. But we'll hear from Bernie Kukar.
Brought down by Dixon, and Tumulty has a flag on the play.
Kukar in his 14th year in the NFL, 7th as a referee. He's a former quarterback at St. John's University in Minnesota. Division II school, actually played quarterback and defensive back, one of those two-way guys, James.
And at a Division II school, you get to wear a number like number 86.
Offside. Number 27 on the defense, lined up in the neutral zone. That's a 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
You know, the last play by the Giants indicated something that we have not seen a lot, and that is speed by a fullback. You know, when people are starting to compare Charles Way to Daryl Johnson. They say, you know, great blocking back. Daryl Johnson, at no point in his career could he turn it on and outrun guys to the corner like Charles Way can.
That penalty on Tito Paul. 2nd down. Way looked like he mishandled the handoff a little bit.
And it looked like he was carrying eggs. You know, when you're carrying eggs, you're trying not to drop them. That ball started to roll down his thighs, and he was just hoping that it didn't hit the ground. So right there, a bunch of eggs on his thighs, and he's thinking, you know, there's a hole there, but I'm going to grab the eggs so that they don't break instead of worrying about running through the hole.
Timo Van Alhoffen on the tackle. Here's Way's start. 3rd and 6 now. Bengals lead 7-3. It's been a quick first quarter. Kannell throws complete. Eric Pegram out of the backfield, but he's just shy of the first down. Sam Shade knocked him out of bounds, and it looks like they're short of the marker.
If they are short, and as Len Berman indicated, if you want to get the crowd into the ball game, if you're Jim Fossil and you're worried about things like getting the crowd in the 12th man, if you're short, you go for it here on 4th down. Fossil's checking out that list. He's going, okay, 4th and 1, 4th and inches. What are my calls here? And let's see, quarterback sneak. Got way up the middle. Got the pass to the tight end. See, this is too much time for a coach or any coach to think about it. They like those quick decisions. Now he has all day to go down and scan that list.
He's got to get down and look at it. He had to get down on the knee and check. They're still checking it.
See, now
I don't believe this.
You finally get, everybody up cheering because you're going for it, and you get that one offensive lineman going, no, quiet down. I don't want to be the guy to jump off sides.
They're going to check it out in the field as well.
Well, no, they've got to do the same mark when they put the ball down. So they keep it at that little one chain link, and, if it was 2 chain links, then maybe you punt it. But 1 chain link, you go for it.
You can't get any closer. 4th down, and they will go for it. Charles Way, and he appears to have the first down. So Jim Fossil goes for it and gets the first down. Fossil, I tell you what, if you're one of those guys that you like to give out midseason grades, he is a candidate for Coach of the Year. Turning around this team, especially, as we mentioned earlier, they start 1-3, have a terrible loss to St. Louis, key injuries, and yet here they are winning 4 in a row and in first place. Way gets the call on first down. Charles Way gets some blocks, and there's a marker. Rico McDonald knocked him out of bounds, but another penalty.
Yeah, and that's either a hold or a push in the back. Charles Way's a good guy. You run him up in between the tackles. When you have to take that extra moment because he's not a sprint guy to get him outside, linemen and everybody else, they tend to hold.
It'll be the second Giant penalty on the holding, so they'll bring it back.
Holding, number 84 on the offense. The 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Aaron Pierce, the backup tight end. So a 1st and 20 coming up for the Giants.
When you run wide, everyone should know that you're running wide. Sometimes when a running back sticks it up in there and then bounces it out, you don't know he's going that direction. Then you can explain why you grabbed your guy. But if it's a wide play and it's called that way, you got some tough explanation when you go to the sideline.
Callaway goes in motion. Blitz here from the Bengals. Another marker out of the backfield is Wheatley. And Wheatley run out of bounds by Sam Shade at about the 40. But more flags on the play.
Yeah, and there's a flag on each side, so both of the officials saw the same thing. Earlier we had Tito Paul lined up in the neutral zone. The cornerback lines up off sides. This time it looks like the Giants might have moved early.
The Giants with another penalty will push them back even further.
Illegal shift. 2 men on the offense are moving. That's a 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And we talked about the quick tempo that the Giants are trying to run. That time they have a shift involved before the snap of the ball. And I think that it was catch-22. Is that what you call it when you're playing something but it backfires? I think that was one of those catch-22 things. They're trying to do the quick tempo. They have the shift, and they have 2 guys shifting at the same time and 1 guy going in motion.
And that shifting makes it a 1st and 25. Final minute, first quarter. Kannell, complete. Howard Cross. And Cross finally dragged down. Sam Shade among those in on the tackle. 11-yard pickup. Let's head back to New York once again. Another update with Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, Mike. Battle of Missouri at St. Louis. Tony Banks, 13-yard touchdown pass to Isaac Bruce for the Rams' first offensive touchdown. They'd gone 10 quarters without one. 7-3 now. St. Louis leading the Chiefs in the first. Mike?
Thank you, Greg. Near the end of the first quarter here at Giant Stadium. 2nd and 12. Callaway. Here comes the rush. Danny Kannell throws it behind Callaway. Sam Shade right there. Fans wanted a flag. Callaway had no shot at catching that. So a 3rd and 12 coming up. Penalties have hurt the Giants on this drive. Kannell now 5 of 10 for 47 yards.
They just come right up the gut after him. They send an extra blitzer, Francis, and he gets in Kannell's face, has to deliver the ball just a little early, and subsequently it's behind Callaway.
Bengals one of the worst in terms of rushing the quarterback. They have only 7 sacks in 7 games.
Yeah, but they said they're getting closer to it.
Kannell, plenty of time, complete. Alexander, good for the first down. Just shy of the 25-yard line. Ashley Ambrose on the tackle, 15-yard pickup.
And there's something about being snake bitten, because that time Big Daddy breaks through. But this is a team that's 1-6, and when you're 1-6, very few things go well for you.
Giants with a first down. You're watching the NFL on NBC. Giants converting on a big 3rd and long, and they have a first down at the Bengal 25-yard line. Kannell looking for the end zone. Incomplete, and there's the flag. Tito Paul with a lot of contact on David Patton.
It's such a tough call because that receiver has that arm. He's posted up against the defensive back. The defensive back, he tries to look back at the last second.
Number 27 on the defense. The interference occurred in the end zone. We'll place the ball on the 1-yard line, first down.
I think the toughest thing about this is Danny Kannell throws such a nice soft pass that the receiver has a long time to get a bead on it. And when he does that, Tito Paul gets his hand on there. You see both of them looking back. The receiver tries to come back under Patton. There's a call, but not much contact.
Kannell, Charles way in the end zone. Touchdown Giants. Greg Bishop with a big block there for Charles Way.
Did you see Scott Gregg? He just did like a big somersault out on the field. Talk about a team that is fired up. There were a lot of question marks as to whether or not the Giants would have a letdown. They said letdown, and we're just a bunch of blue-collar guys. We're not good enough to have a letdown against anybody.
This has been a long time since the word letdown was even uttered by Giant players and fans. Daloiso connects on the extra point, and the Giants answer right back. Early second quarter, 10-7 New York.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Century by Buick. Discover a little luxury in this century. By AT&T, it's all within your reach. By Frost Brewed Coors Light, who reminds you the 3 most important words are "Hey Beer Man." And by American Express. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, American Express helps you do more.
2 costly pass interference penalties for the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Giants lead 10-7. Brad Daloiso to kick off. Short kick on his last one, and the Bengals had excellent field position. Bieniemy about 2 yards deep. Bieniemy, excellent run. He's got 1 man ahead of him. Gets by Daloiso. There he goes. No flags. 102-yard return for a touchdown.
Daloiso nails this ball deep, and Bieniemy almost hesitates for a second. He brings it out, full head of steam. 1 guy misses, and then the only guy who has a chance is Daloiso. Talked about Bieniemy at 5'7", not a tall guy, but 205 pounds, very strong. Not a great effort by Daloiso. You got to throw that body in there and just sacrifice. That's one where you take one for the team.
Veteran out of Colorado getting by Daloiso.
It looked like 2-hand touch there. He said, I touched him, and I'm supposed to stop.
Only 2 Giants even touched him during that return. Belfry on the extra point. Did not expect this scenario here this afternoon. A high-scoring affair, 14-10 Bengals. Eric Bieniemy with his first career kickoff return for a touchdown. Bengals record 14-10 Cincinnati. Fell for your short kick. Eric Pegram. Pegram a little room. And he gets up to about the 35-yard line. Tom Tumulty makes the tackle. 28-yard return. And now Danny Kannell, who's led the Giants to a pair of scores. Touchdown and a field goal thus far this afternoon. There's his numbers.
And those are real similar to his numbers for the year. Right around 51% passing. If you're a top flight NFL guy, you know, you're closer to 60%, sometimes over 60. This is only this guy's third start. And they don't want to put the whole emphasis of this ball game on his shoulders. They'll continue to run the football here.
Charles Way. And Way gets a few before taken down. Tom Tumulty makes the tackle. Once again, back to our New York studios. Another NFL update with Greg Gumbel.
All right, Mike, and back we go to Washington. Jack Kent Cooke Stadium from 4 yards out. Bam Morris scores to cap a 22-play drive and break a 7-all tie with the extra point. The Ravens on top of the Redskins, 14-7 early in the second, Mike.
Thank you, Greg. Wonder if that ever have that intense local rivalry flavor. It'll take a while,
Did you see how bundled up Marchibroda was there? They can't even find him on the sideline.
2nd and 6. Kannell. Nearly picked off. Howard Cross lost it. Sam Shade almost coming up with the interception.
You know, this is a real dangerous ball game for the Giants. You're playing a team that's 1-6. The Bengals win their opener, and then everything goes wrong. Finger pointing. These guys aren't playing hard. They don't care anymore. You give a team a reason to believe it can win a ball game, and they may just do it. Danny Kannell yesterday told us we want to knock this team out early. So far, you know, they're going toe-to-toe, and nobody's really thrown a knockout punch. If anybody, it's been the Bengals.
Don't want to give a struggling team a ray of hope. Ashley Ambrose told us we just need one win, we'll be okay. Kannell complete to Callaway. First down in Bengal territory. Tito Paul makes the tackle, but a 12-yard pickup, and they'll move the chains.
Amazing. Toomer comes in motion. He goes short, and I'm seeing Toomer's open, but he still squeezes the ball into Callaway. You know, you talk about chemistry. Maybe when, you know, Callaway's a second-team wide receiver during training camp, Kannell's thrown to him all the time. They have developed a chemistry because Dave Brown and Hilliard, they're working together as the starters when the season starts. But Callaway's his guy. He's a veteran guy who knows all the routes. He's telling Kannell, you know, you read this, you look for this. And all of a sudden, Kannell's the starter, and hey, there's my old buddy, Chris Callaway. I'm going to get him the ball.
And Brown, who's been an excellent help to Kannell, according to young Danny, says he's been a real coach for him while he recovers from the injury. And Wheatley gets a couple of yards before being wrapped up. Javon Langford with another tackle. Van Olhoffen with some help.
You know, when Fossil came in here, the big thing is we have a coach who now can cure any quarterback. When Dave Brown came into the league, some people questioned his throwing motion. Then they questioned his footwork in the pocket. This year it was how he drops back. You know, those are three things, if you're a quarterback, you don't want people to question. Dave Brown has been Mr. Giants. He's been very positive through all this. And this is a team, and the one thing that he hasn't done, he hasn't let the bickering start.
3rd and 5. Pegram out of the backfield. Andre Collins chases him down. Pegram dives very close to a first down. And we'll see where they spot it. Collins made a nice play, but Pegram made an even better one. And they're going to measure it again.
I remember talking to Eric Pegram when he was a member of the San Diego Chargers. I saw him on the field before the ball game. He had a couple injuries. We thought he was going to get to play a lot. And I asked him, he said, you know, it's politics here. You hear players give that politics line a lot. He has found a home, and it's that type of second effort when, you know, apparently he's going to get tackled 4 yards short. He breaks away from the tackle, lunges out near the first down. It's that type of effort that makes a guy feel very welcome when he's in the locker room.
Well, this one they didn't even need to really get down close and look.
Yeah, that's about 6 chain links short, but Eric Pegram put them in position where they can go for this now. When they look back at the ball game, you know, they'll see, well, we made it on 4th down. What you really have to trace it back to is the effort that Eric Pegram made to break a tackle, to dive forward, to get you in position where you could go for it on 4th down. That's one of those plays that, when you review it, that was a key play by Eric Pegram if they can pick up this 1st down.
Pegram will watch his teammates whether or not they can pick it up. Charles Way and Tyrone Wheatley in the backfield. 4th and about a foot.
And last time they gave it to Way.
Pierce in motion. Wheatley has the 1st down without a problem. Sam Shea makes the tackle. But Pegram's extra effort gives Wheatley the chance to top it off.
You know, one of the things about Tyrone Wheatley that he has to learn, he's so fast, so strong, he needs to lower his shoulder pads just a little more. He gets stood up a little straight in the hole. He has that one bad shoulder, so he may not want to put it up there and take a blow on it.
The pitch away. Reverse. Now the flea flicker. Kannell looks downfield for Callaway. Incomplete. Ashley Ambrose right there on the coverage. And Kannell was under pressure as well.
And that play really got kind of bungled from the beginning. It was not a good handoff between the first couple people. Then Alexander can't get it out of his hands to throw it back to Kannell. But you know what? The Giant fans liked it. They're applauding it. They don't want an old stuck-in-the-mud offense. They like it when they see a gadget or two, because that's a play that every fan in the stands knows, hey, this is what we were running in the parking lot before the game started.
Tyrone Wheatley quickly tackled Rico McDonald. You know, that's what Fossil's known for, a lot of creativity on offense, but he's pretty much had to resort to bland offensive calls with his team thus far. He's had so many injuries. We mentioned the Brian Williams, the Dave Brown, the Ike Hilliard, the Tiki Barber, the Rodney Hampton, and he's had to adjust a little bit, so they haven't really seen all of his gimmick plays yet.
Yeah, but what he's really done a good job is finding somebody to run the football. Rodney Hampton out, turned to Tiki Barber, he goes down, Tyrone Wheatley responds for a while, and then Charles Way, you know, a guy who everyone knew that he could block. Prides himself on his blocking, but he can also run the football pretty well.
3rd and 9. Kannell throws it short for Kevin Alexander. Greg Myers right there. And Brad Maynard will come out to punt.
And this is that gray area of punting. You know, you can take a delay a game here, but you're on the 36-yard line. If this ball happens to go in the end zone, you only net 16 yards. You know, if I'm a real gutsy coach, 3rd and 9, if I had completed that pass for 7 yards, I would have gone for it again. Obviously, you're closer in field goal range. There's not a lot to gain here unless you really pin them down in the corner, and that's one thing the Giants practice on.
And Maynard goes for the corner. And a perfect kick. The rookie from Ball State couldn't have run down and placed it any better than this one. Brand Maynard with the perfect punt. The Bengals take over at the 1. Blake to throw. Looks downfield for Darnay Scott. Scott comes back, and there's a penalty marker. Philippi Sparks on the coverage.
You know, when you have nothing to lose at 1 and 6, this is what you're able to do. Darnay Scott has great speed, hasn't had the season that he would have expected of himself. A guy who turned down $2 million a year.
Number 22
he
on the
could have come up with a
9.5
yarder, because you can't get a 100-yard touchdown reception, but you can get about 99 yards. Blake underthrows him. That's one that they'll look at in the film study, because he had a full 2 yards on and pulling away.
Hand off to Carter. Hamilton makes the tackle. Carter gets up to about the 44. And again, some more pushing and shoving. And a lot of that so far this afternoon.
It was actually baby fighting, because it was between a wide receiver and a cornerback. And it was Darnay Scott. He's upset because he didn't get that 98-yard touchdown reception.
Al Roberts, a special teams coach.
I think Al Roberts is actually in charge of boxing, because every time there's a fight that breaks out with the Bengals, he's around them. And there's sparks Let's see, a little right, a left. See, some of the guys are trying to sneak a punch in. I like Pickens defending his guy though.
2nd and 6. Corey Dillon. And Dillon runs out of bounds right about at midfield, a little shy of the first down.
He ran into the receiver coach, Milt Jackson, for the Giants, and Milt's over. He's trying to make some notes about what they're going to do next time, and all of a sudden he sees everybody else around him move. The flag down on the play also.
This is holding against the Bengals.
They might have called Darnay Scott, number 86, for holding. He was going to prove to Sparks who the tougher guy was. That time Dillon's supposed to go inside, bounce it outside. You get that inside run bouncing outside, somebody's going to be grabbing onto something.
Bengals have been hurt by penalties. They still lead 14-10. But now with a 2nd and 16. Blake looks complete. Over the middle, Tony McGee, the tight end. And that's right by the first down marker, a 16-yard pickup. Philippi Sparks makes the tackle. And they're going to call it a first down for Cincinnati.
And I think that Tony McGee is one of the most underused guys in all of football. Tight end with good speed. Blake seems to have forgotten about this guy and his passing progression. He throws this ball behind McGee. McGee still turns around and gets it.
Corey Dillon tripped up Robert Harris. Got a hand there. And McGee a couple of years ago caught 55 passes. They were saying, hey, this is a guy that has Pro Bowl potential. Last year, not as many, 38. And this year, he's had to concentrate a little bit more on blocking because the offensive line has been so inconsistent.
Yeah, and a lot of their play action passing, he's been asked to stay in. They just sent 2 receivers out. They have time, no one open, and they still get to the quarterback.
2nd and 6. Carter and Jesse Armstead with a tackle for a loss. That is Armstead's specialty. Armstead's been relatively quiet. Well, it makes a big play there.
And Armstead, told us, he said, I'm not a guy who blitzes a lot. If he blitzed more, he would get those double-digit sacks. The funny thing about him, he's so good at covering running backs and tight ends down the field. He's asked to do that, and conversely, he can't blitz, so he can't get the sacks, but he still leads his Giant ball club in tackles.
He's 27 years old today, so happy birthday for Jesse Armstead. 3rd and 9. Hundon in motion. Blake under pressure. Fires incomplete. Intended for Pickens. Jason Sehorn was right behind him, but Jeff Blake feeling the pressure.
Michael Strahan wears number 92, the same number as Reggie White. And Reggie has that, I think it's called his forklift move. Strahan at the top of the screen just takes one arm and throws Willie Anderson, who is 6'5", 335 pounds, out of the way. So if you can 335 pounds with one arm, that means he can bench press probably about 700 pounds if he gets real mad.
Lee Johnson. Monty Toomer on the fair catch. And the Giants will take over at the 13, 35-yard kick. Nice job from Lee Johnson to place it inside the 20.
I don't ask you to do that.
Toomer calling for the fair catch. Bengals in a hurry. Giants will take over. Giants first and 10, their own 13. Tyrone Wheatley hit quickly and maybe gets 3 yards on the play.
Good job, John.
And just call Al Roberts, the special teams coach, Mr. Ballistic. He has gone after Eric Bieniemy. He broke up the fight that threw water on Darnay Scott, and now he's getting on James Hundon. He got a little too close to Monty Toomer. He's trying to calm down now, but he's working that gum. Look at that gum going.
He's also done a great job. They're 3rd in the NFL in punt coverage this year. Last year they were one of the worst, so he's done a nice job. Kannell, complete. Up to about the 27-yard line, Kevin Alexander. 11-yard pickup.
And Danny Kannell starting to spread the ball around a little bit. We saw him go to Howard Cross. Now he's gotten Alexander involved. And not that wide receivers are petty, but everybody's counting. He's been throwing to Chris all this time. When is he going to throw me one?
Well, the Giant wide receivers, I don't know if they'll get that way. Some of them just happy to be there, like Alexander and Patton, playing with the injuries to Ike Hilliard and Thomas Lewis. Another play fake. Kannell throws, complete. Alexander again, up to the 42. Tito Paul knocks him down, but not before a 16-yard gain.
Yeah, we mentioned Kevin Alexander. This is a talented guy. He may be only 5'9", but he's a talented guy. Utah State caught 92 passes, 1,400 yards when he was a senior in college. Knows how to run those routes, deep comeback, pushes the guy off, and then he goes up the ladder and pulls it down.
Practice squad player last year as a rookie free agent. He's got 11 catches this year. He only had 4 all of last season. Helping out with the injuries. There's nowhere to go for Charles Wade. Kimo von Oelhoffen. And again, more stuff after the whistle.
You know, if I'm either head coach on either side of the field, and I see these scuffles, I'm happy. Because if I'm Jim Fossil, I was worried about my guys not being geeked up for this game. And if I'm Bruce Kozlik, I like the intensity that I see from my side of the football.
And Fossil is like the intensity of his team. Fossil says one of the reasons things have worked out well for him is that he was an assistant here back in 91 and 92 in the Ray Hanley years. Weren't pleasant times for the Giants, but he feels that helped prepare him for his next trip to New York. Aaron Pierce, Ashley Ambrose, his presence, I think, affected Pierce on that one.
You know, I think he got a hand in there to knock that ball away as Aaron Pierce is making his pirouette. And you don't expect a big guy like Aaron Pierce to be able to make a pirouette. But this ball is thrown just a little behind him as he goes up the seam. There's the pirouette. Ashley Ambrose does a great job in knocking the ball down. I think Ashley said, you know, I'm about 185 pounds. He weighs about 260. I'm going to go for the ball, not the man.
He told us yesterday he's excited about it today. He likes to play against young quarterbacks. And Kannell certainly fits that bill. On third down, Danny Kannell nearly picked off Tito Paul, had a hand on it. Kannell overthrowing Amani Toomer, and fourth down for the Giants.
And Amani Toomer has been great in the punt return game. 15 ball games in his career, 3 punt returns for a touchdown, but he hasn't made those same strides at wide receiver. He went out with a knee injury last year. He doesn't run the crisp route yet. He's kind of just floats through it. That time he couldn't shake Paul. Ball's thrown off the mark in addition to that.
Maynard on for another punt. Myers back at his 10. This one high but short. Greg Myers runs up and calls for a fair catch. And the Bengals will take over there, leading 14-10. BC nothing like a Game 7 in sports.
And that's why I don't like the DH. Let the pitchers hit the ball.
First down, Blake. Darnay Scott with his first reception. Flippy Sparks makes the tackle, but of course, the pitchers in the National League Park, they don't use the DH.
I'm talking about all of baseball.
All right.
You know, DH, I know the guys make a lot of money. You know, they sit in the dugout, they swing a bat around, they gain weight during the season, and then they don't let them hit in the World Series in the different parts.
But how about Chad Ojay? He gets the big hits. You wouldn't have that.
You know, he didn't even own a bat before last night's game.
First down, and 10 is Scott again with his first reception. Blake under some pressure, sneaks away, and then throws it away.
Now, I thought Jeff would have taken off with that one. Guy who runs very well with the football. He can feel when there's a little bit of pressure around him. That time, guys just nipping at his heels like he has, you know, bacon dripping from himself. He's not getting the time to just set up in the pocket.
He has what?
Bacon dripping from his feet. You know, the Giants didn't eat a full pregame meal. You don't eat a full meal on game day, so they're still hungry.
Curious you'd pick bacon. Second and 10. Blake throws it high. Incomplete. David Dunn, the intended receiver.
And that's the second time we've had nice, what I call nice corners. We had a high ball to Aaron Pierce. Cornerback goes for the ball. We have a high ball that time to David Dunn. Seahorn, I think, is surprised by the throw, because if not, he can just light David Dunn up. Blake takes a nice 5-step drop, bounce, throw. It's a little high. Dunn goes up for it. I don't know if that ball is intended for Dunn. There's another guy further down the field.
Third and 10. Eric Bieniemy breaks one tackle, breaks another one, but finally taken down. Jason Seahorn stops him. And a quick series for the Bengal offense.
Now, Bruce Kozlik makes that call at home in Synergy Field. He gets booed very loud. I mean, it's 3rd and 10, and you're running the ball. If I'm on defense, I want to know what's going on here. You know, what are you doing running the ball on 3rd and 10? Now, Bruce Cosler, maybe he didn't call that one. Maybe he's trying to find out what are we doing running on 3rd and 10.
Tony McGee was yelling at somebody as he came off the field. Lee Johnson. Toomer another fair catch. And Johnson with another solid punt inside the 20. 47-yard punt. And more importantly, no return. So the veteran doing his job here in the second quarter. 2:44 remaining here in the first half. Bengals leading 14-10. And of course at halftime, good stuff coming up. The Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. Greg along with Chris Collinsworth, Joe Gibbs, Sam Weiss bring you all the scores and highlights. And of course World Series report on that big Game 7 tonight. All coming up at halftime. Giants will start at their own 15. They trail 14-10. Kannell again high. Howard Cross hauls it in. Sam Shea brings him down. That's a terrific catch from Howard Cross.
Yeah, a great catch. I saw Howard when he jogged out on the field. We talked to him the other day, and in the first minute he talked to us, he said old guy about 4 times. and Howard really is the old man on this team. I noticed when he ran down the field, I said, you don't look real old.
He also said Kannell only throws to him out of desperation. Wheatley on the pitch, and Wheatley gets up across the 31. Tom Tumulty makes the tackle. Now we've got the 2-minute warning approaching. So Wheatley continues to play with that bad shoulder. 2-minute warning here, first half at Giants Stadium in East Rutherford. Bengals leading the Giants 14-10. You're watching the NFL on NBC.
Big Daddy's apparel isn't fitting too well. He even has a hole right there. And, you know, he can't get this thing tucked in, so they get to grab and pull on him. He looks like Earl Campbell in a tearaway jersey. Running down the sideline against the Miami Dolphins.
An equipment manager's nightmare. 2nd and 5. Kannell throws it to Callaway, and Callaway's got the first down, gets out of bounds. Callaway's 4th reception. The ball be spotted at about the 38. Giants with all 3 of their timeouts remaining. Callaway was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Very tough player. He says that one of the reasons why he's tough, when his mom was pregnant with him, she was a cheerleader. And all that banging around, he learned at an early age.
Okay.
That's what he says.
I'll buy that because you've never lied to me before.
On first down, again, Kannell throws a little bit behind. David Patton, the intended receiver, Jimmy Spencer on the coverage.
You know, you only have 2 guys out in the route that time. You have Callaway going deep, you have Alexander cutting across, and you have Howard Cross who's delaying. This is the 2-minute period. They've made the substitution now. You really get your receiving core in. And Aaron Pierce is a little better receiver. And now they've called timeout. But Pierce is a better receiver than Cross, and you also bring Toomer in the ball game.
Bengals call their first time out of the first half. Giants with a 2nd and 10 coming up.
Tito Paul getting worked on the sideline, and that's a lot of people around. If it's just a cramp or something like that, you may have one guy trying to iron it out, but that looks like a medical problem.
2nd and 10. Jimmy Spencer, who was in on that last play for the first time this afternoon. In for Paul. Kannell quickly out to Wheatley. Wheatley trying to get back Sam Shea. Sam Shea with a good open field tackle. Up at about the 42. 3rd and long coming up for the Giants.
That's the area that you expect a little more from Tyrone Wheatley, a guy who was a sprint champion when he was in high school, a #1 pick out of Michigan, a great hurdler in college, has aspirations of doing a lot of things. Got to make one guy miss in the open field.
3rd and 6. Pegram goes absolutely nowhere and quickly thrown down. Giant fans don't like the call. Kannell Curtis.
Charles Way doesn't miss very often. He's supposed to get Kannell Curtis, the outside defensive end, and he just whiffs at the block. Kannell makes a good job. cuts under him, makes the tackle.
Tim Terry helping out afterwards as Maynard on the punt. Beautiful high kick from Maynard. Myers at the 11 is going to try it. And Myers gets across the 25 to about the 27. Jason Sehorn, on the tackle. 53-yard punt, 15-yard return. Marcus Buckley also helping out. And now Blake will come out. Bengals with 2 timeouts remaining. There you see 55 seconds left. Check that 1 timeout as they took the second one. So just 1 timeout left for the Bengals.
The Bengals come out in their 3 wide receiver set with David Dunn, very dangerous receiver in that middle slot position.
Out of the backfield, and Brian Milne, the fullback, cannot hold on.
Have you ever noticed how you throw the fullback a ball a little bit out of his grasp, and he's so top heavy, he starts to lean, and he can barely keep his balance without falling down. Not that they're not great athletes, but I think he has a magnet in the top of his helmet. And there, the magnetic force field almost. I'm
worried about you. 2nd down and 10.
That's why they block so well, because of that magnet in the top of their helmet.
I want you to lie down at halftime. Blake under some pressure. Strahan in pursuit. Blake fires. Complete. Good for first down. And it appears he got out of bounds as well. Darnay Scott.
Unbelievable. They had a lineman downfield 10 yards, and he's right behind the wide receiver, and the head linesman on our side of the field did not pick it up.
12-yard pickup, and again, importantly, they stopped the clock with 42 seconds remaining. Bengals leading. Of course, one of the key plays is Tito Paul up and about, which is good to see. Eric Bieniemy, 102-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. That gave Cincinnati the lead. Blake across the middle, complete. David Dunn. Giants not happy. They felt he may have dropped it. 16-yard pickup. Blake wants to spike it now. And they'll stop the clock with 27 seconds remaining. Let's go back down to the field, get an update on Tito Paul. Len Berman?
Yeah, we saw him lying on the ground. I think James was right. When he stood up, they were massaging his left calf. Probably a cramp. He has his helmet in his hand. He'll be back.
Looks okay, bouncing around there.
Bengals 27 seconds, maybe enough time to snap the ball 4 times with their timeout. That's not going to help.
Strahan gets into the backfield, and it's false start against Cincinnati, so they'll move it back.
Number 66 on the offense. He's moving prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Ken Blackman with the Bengals' 5th penalty of the first half.
How come they just didn't say he couldn't hold still? He's moving prior to the snap.
So the ball back to the 49. Giant 49. Giants showing some blitz here. Blake to Milne. He catches this one. Gets away. And Brian Miller gets down to the 38.
Yeah, at that point you need to get out of bounds, not cut back in for a few extra yards.
Blake with a slight limp there.
Well, Blake's going to call timeout, and he's trying to get up in the official's face. He's running, and he gets hit by the turf monster. He's calling timeout. He's bouncing, and then right there he'd go, and he's trying to turn to the sideline, and the turf monster got him.
That's one that you're going to hear from your teammates next week.
Oh, yeah.
But he calls their last timeout. There's 18 seconds remaining. They've got a 3rd and 5 coming up. Pelfrey, the kicker, this year his long is a 46-yarder. Right now, if they try to kick it, it'd be a 56-yarder.
And Doug Pelfrey doesn't have that type of range. This is your opportunity to throw the ball down the middle to David Dunn. 6'3", 220 pounds. He catches it. Everybody hustles up. You get over the ball. You spike it. Then you run the field goal team on the field after that.
3rd and 5. Bengals now out of timeouts. Blake goes, way overthrows Hunden.
Still time for the same scenario. Get the ball to David Dunn. You have 4th down. You're outside the kicker's range. You need to convert, get up on the ball, and spike it. You have 14 seconds. It's not a lot of time. 18 seconds would have been better. they're going to be down to the last 1 or 2 seconds trying to spike this ball.
Again, if you're wondering, Pelfrey, 56-yarder well beyond his range right now. His career long is 54. And they'll go for it on 4th down. Blake, across the middle, complete. And there he goes. David Dunn, touchdown Bengals.
Tito Paul overran the play. You have to make the tackle. Granted, the guy's going to make the catch. He's thinking about getting up in position to knock the ball away from a receiver. You tackle him, and they don't have enough time, 6 seconds, to hustle up there and get it.
John Fox, the defensive coordinator, very upset.
But just like I called her from upstairs, David Dunn over the middle. Tito Paul takes the incorrect angle. David Dunn in the end zone for 6 points.
His first touchdown reception of the season, and the Bengals lead now 20-10.
We have too many Titos in the ball game. Tito Wu missed the tackle. Wrong angle. Not Tito Paul.
And John Fox very upset.
Blake over the middle, fires a strike to Dunn. You see Dunn catch the ball as if, I know I'm going to get hit. When there's no one to hit him, he just turns upfield and high steps it into the end zone.
Dunn, one of the biggest wide receivers in the league at 6'3", 220. Third year out of Fresno State. Missed first couple of games this season with a broken bone in his left hand, but they feel he can be a big-time receiver. He's battled his weight problem a little bit in his first couple of years, but a great catch and a great call that time as the Bengals now lead 21-10.
He likes donuts, and when the rookies bring him on Saturdays, there's David Dunn waiting at the door for him when they walk through with those donuts.
6 seconds remain. And the Bengals could not have asked for a better first half, leading 21-10. A team that is just looking for some positives after losing 6 in a row.
Do you kick it away or do you squib it here?
I don't kick it away. Pelfrey, Aaron Pierce picks it up. And Pierce tripped up by Sam Shade with 1 second remaining. So Jim Fossil's team, winners of 4 in a row, going to have to come from behind in the second half. He was a little worried about this game. Again, the Bengals coming in at 1-6. They were a team with a lot of talent. They had not put it together. Certainly have played poorly. Yeah, this to be the final play of the first half. And the Giants hear some more boos.
Yeah, but the Giants are penalized. The wide receiver, Alexander, didn't get up on the line of scrimmage. They don't have enough guys on the line of scrimmage. Illegal procedure. He can't believe it. He can't believe it.
Illegal formation. Number 86 on the offense. The half is over.
Well, the Cincinnati Bengals, losers of 6 straight, with a strong first half here at Giants Stadium in East Rutherford. Bengals leading the Giants 21-10. Right now, let's go back to New York. The Greg Gumbel Stadium in New Jersey. It's a 21-10 lead for the Cincinnati Bengals. Hi again, everyone, along with James Lofton, Mike Breen. Yesterday, when we talked to the Bengals, all they kept saying was, we don't get the big play. We're not getting the big play. They had 2 pretty big plays in that second quarter.
And we've seen special teams coach Al Roberts kind of go after some guys, and that's the type of emotion that has been on display for this whole ball club. You know, whether it's Bieniemy running a kick return back or guys fighting for extra yardage, this team, they were accused of kind of mailing it in. They haven't done that today.
Well, that play happened in the first quarter. Bieniemy, who's the special teams captain, so fired up. Then he came back in the second quarter and returned 102 yards on the kickoff return for the touchdown.
Yeah, and I think for the Giants that they've been caught off guard. Danny Kannell said, we want to knock this team out early. Well, as it turns out, they're down 21-10 at halftime. And this is a Giants team you have to wonder, are they equipped to come back from a deficit like this? They haven't passed the ball dramatically well during the season. You know, Danny Kannell has been very functional. Now he's going to have to lead a second half comeback.
And the Coors Light halftime stats, you see the numbers pretty close in terms of rushing, passing, and total yards. No turnovers yet. Giants have had the football for quite a bit, but again, that 102-yard return a big difference, and then they scored on that 4th and 5 from the 39 in the final minute of the second. Let's go back down to the field and Len Berman.
All right, Mike, I talked with both coaches. Bruce Coslet, as you really pointed out, he said we finally did something that's been plaguing us all year long. We finally made some big plays. I asked him what about the second half. He said pretend that the first half never happened. As for Jim Fossil, he said we did not play smart. He was very unhappy. I asked him if he was calm at halftime in the locker room, and he said, no, I wasn't.
And Fossil has gotten tough when he's had to. He was known as being very laid back, but that's not the case when need be. Bieniemy breaks another tackle. Eric Bieniemy over the 30 to the 32-yard line. Finally taken down. Doug Coleman, a 29-yard return for Bieniemy.
Sometimes a good gauge of your team is how well you're playing in the special teams department. The New York Giants there, they let the Bengals out past the 30-yard line, and that's kind of the gauge. You know, it's decent if you can pin them inside the 30. Great if you can pin them inside the 20. They want a lot more out of their special teams in that area.
Larry McDuff, so his special teams give up the touchdown. DeJana Carter gets up to about the 35. About a 3 or 4 yard pickup. Michael Strahan makes the tackle.
Very important defensively for the Giants, and you really cannot overemphasize it. You let the Bengals get on a march, chew up some clock, and all of a sudden you're not looking at a half where you have a chance to come back in the ballgame. You're looking at only a quarter and a half, so they'd love a 3-and-out series right here.
Blake's touchdown at the end of the second quarter, his first touchdown in 4 games, first TD pass, had gone free with that one. Carter gets the call and taken down. Sam Garnes makes the tackle near the 40-yard line. It'll be a 3rd and 1.
You know, when you can run the ball successfully on 1st and 2nd down and put yourself in a 3rd and short situation, you can then dictate to the defense what you want to do. And on 3rd and 2 here, the Bengals have brought in their nickel package. They have 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a lone running back with Bieniemy in the backfield.
Yeah, they marked it back a little further. Blake gets away from Bratsky. Blake still running, fumbles the football, picked up by the Giants. Sehorn gives it to Ellsworth. Ellsworth down the sidelines, knocked out of bounds. And the first turnover of the game.
Third and 2, you would expect possibly a rundown. Blake takes a short set. What he does well, he moves in the pocket well and has that ball waving it around a little bit. Jesse Armstead comes up, pokes it out with his left hand, and then that ball's on the ground. And you mentioned Sehorn and Ellsworth are kind of there battling for it. Maybe Sehorn's the better candidate to run with the football there. He's a star running back when he was in junior college.
But Armstead making another big play. Armstead having a Pro Bowl season for the Giants. 1st and 10. Tyrone Wheatley cuts back inside, and Wheatley dives down to about the 17-yard line. And this crowd booing the Giants at the end of the second, fired up. And Jeff Blake being attended to.
Yeah, and sometimes when you lose the ball, when you fumble, when you throw an interception, all the emotion gets sucked out of you, and that's when you feel those bumps and bruises. Jeff Blake will get back in this ball game.
2nd and 4. Charles Way. Way gang tackled, short of the first down. Let's go down to Len Berman.
Well, as James was just talking about, Jeff Blake was shaken up on that last play. There's something with his left foot. It happened towards the end of the second quarter. He is standing on the sidelines, but he walked off very gingerly after that turnover, guys.
All right, Len. Remember, Blake kind of looked like he twisted his foot when he tried to call a timeout. He's also been bothered by a right big toe.
Turf monster.
Right.
And that turf monster, if there's something that's hurting you on your body, if it's a knee and ankle, it'll grab you. And this field is brand new this year. They've done some things to untexturize it, but it can still grab you.
3rd and 2. Wheatley goes backwards. Giants signaling for a first down.
Ricardo McDonald got the hit on Wheatley in the hole that time, and that is exactly what Fossil wants out of Tyrone Wheatley. A guy with all the physical tools. He said that sometimes Wheatley runs like a lightweight. He wants him to run like a heavyweight. And Wheatley, granted he has that nicked up shoulder, there are times during the course of a 16-game schedule where you're not going to feel 100%, where you're not going to feel like sticking up in there, but you still have to do it.
He's got 9 carries, 33 yards, and a first down that time. Wheatley gets the pitch. Tom Tumulty in the backfield. It slows down Wheatley, and he's knocked out of bounds. Rico McDonald. But Tumulty, in good pursuit there.
And Rico McDonald there on top of the play. And when we talked to Ashley Ambrose about this ball game, we asked him, who on this team is not going to quit? The first name out of his mouth was Rico McDonald.
He didn't hesitate.
No, he didn't hesitate at all. Maybe he hesitated when he said who's going to make the big play, but he could tell you that Rico McDonald is not going to quit on you.
McDonald, his 6th year out of Pitt. 2nd and 10. Callaway in motion. Giants trailing 21-10. Early 3rd quarter. Kannell, Callaway, tough catch. And there's a flag. Callaway hauls it in at the 4-yard line, and more pushing and shoving.
Yeah, it's a pass interference here, but Callaway just comes up with the catch. There are certain guys who you can give them a little bump and all that. You know, there's a number 80 who plays on the green team here. This is the blue team today. There's a number 80 who plays on the green team, Corbett, who comes up with the same type of catches in traffic that Chris Callaway does. He's going in motion. He's just going to head up the field, get enough yardage for what would be a first down, and there he's sitting. There's the guy short, Alexander short, Callaway deep, around all the guys, but the combination, Kannell to Callaway, you write that one down. When this game is over, they probably go home together. They probably ride share.
Tito Paul with a pass interference.
And in the left side of the screen, the defensive lineman, you get those hands to the face and all that. And that's what starts the fisticuffs afterwards. But that's great coverage by Tito Paul, but just a superb catch by Callaway.
1st and goal at the 3. Wheatley hit a couple of times. An excellent pursuit and thrown out of bounds.
You know, but I like Tyrone Wheatley's intent on that one. Now, here's a guy with, we talked about the great speed. He can try and stretch that one to the corner, and he's not going to get anything. What he did, he became a north and south runner. He can go this way out here, but he sticks it up, and he goes straight up there. And you like that from a running back. What it does, it inspires the guys who are standing on the sideline saying, yeah, we're a tough, physical, blue-collar football team.
2nd and goal. Kannell to Charles Way, and Way tackled down at the 1. Greg Myers with a good hit there. And 3rd and goal coming up.
Yeah, very nice stop by Greg Myers. Way is a guy who runs the ball well. He's lined up kind of as a wing back there. Just shoots off into the fence. Look at the blood on Way. You know, that's when you can tell a guy's a good physical player. And that blood, trust me, is somebody else's blood. That's not Charles Way. You know, I don't think he bleeds. He's just one of those type of tough guys. No elbow pads or anything like that. He gets other people's blood on him.
A tough guy made a play on him. 3rd and goal. And a timeout is called. The Bengals. So a 3rd and goal at the 1. 21-10 your score. Still early in the 3rd, and as you heard Len Berman tell us, Jim Fossil let his team have it at halftime. They gave up a couple of big plays and put themselves in a hole here early in the 3rd. But the turnover, a Jeff Blake fumble, Giants have it back at a chance to score.
Yeah, and Fossil, we talked about him preaching about focus. You have to remain focused on the game at hand. Sometimes you get caught up in the plays that you didn't make, that you should have made, and you lose focus that you have to go out and play another half. They came out, they force a turnover from the Bengals. Now you have a chance to capitalize on it. And what really separates this ball game is the special teams play from Eric Bieniemy. That touchdown return, they get the ball in the end zone here, and they continue to stop. They apply the pressure to a Bengals team that has not had great success this year.
3rd and goal, just a little more than a yard. Kannell looks in the end zone, and Howard Cross was open, and they couldn't get it to him, and there's a penalty marker. Comes in late.
Howard and James Francis, Howard Cross and James Francis are tied up in this. They're one-on-one on each other. Cross is going to the corner. Francis is right there with him.
Number 50 on the defense.
You get a holding call on Francis where you're supposed to hold. You let go. He looks back. Both the big feet cross about a size 15. Francis about a size 14. They get tangled up in that, so it's not pass interference, but it's the holding off the line of scrimmage, and that holding gives the Giants a first down inside the 1.
Another big penalty against the Bengals. They've overcome them thus far. Wheatley. No signal from the officials. And Bengal defense, obviously with the exception of that penalty, holding up pretty good here. Nick LeBeau, it's not been an easy transition to his 3-4 zone blitz defense.
Yeah, and we've got a flag down. I think we may have a sideline infraction. See a lot of Bengals backing up now.
Unsportsmanlike conduct against the Cincinnati bench. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Yeah. Wow. And they had, you had that large white stripe on the sideline. Got that large white stripe on the sideline. The guys are supposed to stay out of that. They had guys who are actually out onto the field. They're out onto the field in this direction. The officials had no recourse but to call that penalty against them.
You never see that call. 8th penalty. Charles Way, touchdown Giants. So Charles Way with his second rushing touchdown of the season.
And when you're down by 5 points, you have that card that tells you, okay, in the formula, do we go for 1 or do we go for 2? You get a 2-point conversion here, then you're down by a field goal, just 3 points. So Jim Fossil has decided to go for the 2-point conversion here. And these are tricky plays. You see you're going motion one way, flood all the receivers in that direction. And the defense, all they have to do is cut off half the field to really be successful here.
Kannell will throw. Nobody's open. Kannell will try and run. He gets hammered. And the Bengal defense stops the 2-point attempt. But the Giants get on the board. Way, by the way, that's his second touchdown of the day. 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. And more importantly for the Giants, they now trail 21-16.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. By Schick, the feel of smart design. By Northwestern Mutual Life. Have you heard from the Quiet Company? And by Texaco, a world of energy.
Backup quarterback Boomer Esiason loosening up. Again, Jeff Blake looks like bothered by a foot injury earlier. Nothing serious, but he was limping slightly as Daloiso comes on. Just under 9 minutes remaining 3rd quarter. 21-16 Bengals. Bieniemy already has returned one for a touchdown. Stumbles a little bit and taken down Robert Massey. And Brandon Sanders in on the tackle. 22-yard return. So Jeff Blake and the Bengals back out on the field. Giant quarterback Danny Kannell injured his ankle on that 2-point conversion attempt.
Right there, and he just ends up sitting on it, and a couple other guys pushing on top of him. That's not a good ankle exercise if you're thinking about doing it at home.
He's in a little bit of pain on the sideline as they're working on it. Bengals have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 25. Carl Pickens, by the way, the all-pro wide receiver, still looking for his first reception of the afternoon. And Blake will throw on 1st down. Dumps it off to Milne. Milne gets away from a couple of Giants before Corey Whitmer brings him down at the 39. 14-yard pickup.
It looked like Blake that time wanted to come to Pickens. Talked about a guy who started off the season setting the world on fire. just can't keep his feet under him.
And another first down, Kajana Carter tackled from behind. Michael Strahan. 2nd and 7. With Carter, you look at Carter playing with the torn rotator cuff. Corey Dillon, who hasn't seen a lot of action, playing with the partially dislocated kneecap. That's a banged up bunch of running backs.
And Bieniemy, a guy who you put in on 3rd down.
Carter in motion. Blake fires complete. There's Pickens, his first catch. Philippi Sparks trips him up. But not before the Bengals get another first down. First reception of the afternoon for Carl Pickens.
And Jeff Blake did a good time there. With his eyes, he made about 5 guys in the middle run toward Hunden. And Blake is the guy he really wants. He's looking in the middle. Pickens got away with a little bit of shove there and just uncovers himself to the outside.
Bengals at the Giant 44. There's Corey Dillon. Doesn't have much room to go there. Jason Sehorn
I would
brings him
think
down.
if you have a dislocated kneecap, that thing must stiffen up on you a little bit. And trying to keep the guy loose is tough. You can see him kind of dragging that left leg off.
Well, he didn't want to come out there.
Yeah, he's trying to get warmed up. And I think the coaches maybe, either he's telling him to run straight ahead or, go back there and read a book on the sideline.
2nd and 9. Ooh, the tough look. He's only 22 years old. Blake. Strahan chasing him. And Blake throws it away.
See, now, that's just awful. You play action pass. You keep the tight end in, extra guy into pass block. And no sooner does he come out of the play action fake than he has to run for his life. That doesn't make any sense. You draw that play up to give Jeff Blake time to throw the football down the field, and he comes out of his fake, turns his back on the defense, and here are 2 big guys in blue uniforms chasing him down.
He's only been sacked once, and that's a good number compared to some of the other weeks. 3rd and 9. Steps up and fires. Intercepted. Philippi Sparks. His first interception of the season.
That time, Blake tries to go to James Hunden. Philippi Sparks is the best cover guy in the secondary, and he's not threatened 1 iota by Hunden. He just steps up, and that's a big spark for the Giants.
Today on the NFL on NBC, Denver's rising star Terrell Davis reflected on the joys of playing in the NFL.
Game ball for TD and the offensive line.
These are really the prime times of my life. I think these are the days that I'm going to cherish most, playing football, and I'm having a ball.
Don't miss the NFL on NBC next Sunday.
Philippi Sparks with his first interception of the season. 2nd straight turnover by the Bengals, who still lead 21-16. Kannell looks downfield. Patton comes across and tries to make a catch. Incomplete. Let's go once again down to Len Berman.
Left ankle before Danny Kannell. What I found interesting was Jim Fossil was standing over him while he was putting his shoe on, just barking out plays off his play sheet at him. So he was looking right past the ankle. And then when he stood up with his helmet, he stood next to Dave Brown the entire time discussing plays. So I don't even think there's any kind of friction between those 2 quarterbacks. And a little update on the weather. It is starting to drizzle a little harder now.
Chance of some heavy rain later. Tyrone Wheatley gets the call, breaks a few tackles, and gets across the 40 to the 41. Tim Terry making the stop. Giants with a 3rd and 4 coming up.
And we talked about Tyrone Wheatley moving from up in divisions, and he really did move up to the heavyweight division on that run. At the tail end of it, put his head down and just burst over Tito Paul. The only thing I don't like is, now he's on the sideline with possibly another ailment.
And that shoulder is bothering him. As we mentioned, both Wheatley and Carter for the Bengals playing with some very tough injuries and gaining the respect of their teammates in playing through pain. And movement on the line.
Ball start. Number 72 on the offense, moving prior to the snap. The 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Roman Oben with the Giants' 5th penalty of the game.
And that takes them from a very, very manageable, makeable 3rd and long 3 to now a 3rd and 8 or 9 yards. The odds go down when you have to try and convert 3rd and 5 or more.
Kannell. Complete. Amani Toomer gets up past the first down marker. Corey Sawyer fell down.
That may be off. No, he didn't fall down. That may be offensive pass interference there because Toomer used his size. Yeah,
there you go.
See it, offensive interference. He used his size against Corey Sawyer that time and just muscled him out of the way.
Pass interference, number 89 on the offense. The 10-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
You know, this is very similar to a 3-step drop, but you're lined up in the shotgun. You take that one little bounce, you turn, you throw the football, you deliver it on time. And the receivers think, well, if he can chuck me in that 5 yards, I can bump into him. And Toomer's the bigger guy in this matchup. He bumps into Sawyer. Now we're faced with a 3rd and 18. And you're flipping through the play sheet, trying to figure out what to run on 3rd and 18.
2 penalties that hurt. And now the 3rd and long. Here come the Bengals. Kannell dumps it off to Charles Way. And Way tackled at about the 38. Sam Shade brings him down well short of the 1st down. 12-yard gain, but the Giants will punt.
And if you're a Giant fan sitting in the stands at home, you wonder, why do you run that play on 3rd and 18? Well, twofold. Number one, you want a completion, so you gain some yardage to win the field position battle. But the second thing is Charles Way is a very accomplished runner. If he makes Sam Shade miss right there, he's on his way to picking up that 1st down.
Shade hasn't missed much this afternoon. He's played well. Maynard. Another high kick. Myers with a fair catch right at the 20. So Brad Maynard does his job. Bengals will take over. They lead 21-16.
That's my guy.
Giants with a penalty. Scott Gallion, ineligible receiver downfield, so they'll punt it again. Maynard gets off another beautiful kick. Myers calling for a fair catch, backs up all the way back to the 15. That is a beautiful punt. 52 yards, no return, and another flag comes in after the whistles.
Yeah, and there's a flag on during the play, which is going to be against the Bengals. And obviously we've had enough fisticuffs for, 3 rounds of boxing so far. These guys are it's a heated matchup. You don't expect this isn't a natural rivalry, but the Giants are fighting to stay in 1st place, and the Bengals are fighting for respect.
Tell you what, though, you have a 6-game losing streak, and you're trying to get on the winning track. You got to stay away from that stuff. A penalty could make the difference in a game this close.
Yeah.
Both penalties against the Bengals. A holding and a personal foul. And Al Roberts, he was mad earlier. It looks like he's going to get after somebody again. Although he's taking this one relatively calm.
Well, because what he doesn't want to do, he doesn't want to pound him over the head once.
Number 22.
Twice.
On the receiving team, that penalty is accepted. Half the distance to the goal. Personal fall on the receiving team is declined. 1st down.
Because really the players can point the finger at the coaches right here. They had the ball in decent field position. They opt to make them punt again. By making them punt again, they put themselves in a deeper hole, and that's been the story of the Bengals the whole season.
You're watching the NFL on NBC.
Bengals back at their own 8. A good punt and some penalties. Blake hands off. Carter trying to get outside and does. Look at John Carter down the sideline and runs out of bounds at about the 35. That's twice now the Bengals backed up deep in their own territory and have come up with a big play to get them out of trouble.
Yeah, last time they threw the ball deep to Darnay Scott. They got the interference call. This time it's all plugged up in the middle. John Carter does a good job bouncing outside. David Dunn had worked just long enough with Jason Sehorn where it gave John Carter a chance to get outside.
27-yard pickup. They'll stay on the ground. Corey Dillon. Flag on the play. And Dillon tackled after maybe a 2-yard gain. Ray Agnew in on the stop.
And we're going to have a personal foul against Sam Garnes, the rookie. After Blake handed the ball off, Garnes just wasted him, took him to the turf.
Personal foul, number 20 on the defense. Unnecessary roughness. We're going to add it on to the end of the run. First down.
Another costly penalty. Both teams now with 8 apiece.
What Garnes has to realize that in this game, even though the Giants preach that their defense is what leads this team, what pumps the NFL is the health of the quarterback. And you just can't take a shot at the quarterback after he's thrown the ball or after he's handed the ball off on a running play.
The rookie from the Bronx making the mistake. Bengals now in Giant territory. Blake, quick throw out of the backfield. Marco Battaglia. And Battaglia breaks some tackles, gets out of bounds. And welcome home for Battaglia, the former Rutgers star. Right now, let's go to New York, get an update from Greg Gumbel. Greg?
Mike and James, check this out. Denver with a 13-0 lead. Buffalo's Todd Collins with a strike to Andre Reed, who drops a touchdown pass. On the very next play, Collins flips into the flat. The pass is bobbled, picked off by Keith Traylor, 62 yards and a touchdown. Instead of being down 13-7, the Bills find themselves down 20-0. Alex Van Pelt has replaced Todd Collins at quarterback. They've gone to the fourth quarter, 20-point Denver lead, guys.
Thank you, Greg. Blake under pressure, goes for the end zone. And overthrows Carl Pickens. The rain coming down a little bit harder here at Giant Stadium.
And Blake is trying to direct Carl Pickens as to where he should have run the route. If Pickens has 2 guys on him when he's going deep, he's trying to run a corner route here. The thing to do is come off and hit your secondary receiver. He has a secondary receiver, and that's Tony McGee on that route.
2nd and 10. Dejanna Carter, Corey Whitmer wraps him up. Carter gets down to about the 33-yard line. So a third, see how many where they put it. Third and about 8 coming up. Carter with 66 yards rushing.
And one of the keys in almost any ball game is how well you convert on 3rd down. And the Bengals have been woeful this season. This is a chance to get down in easy field goal range, or even if you get a first down, convert and get a touchdown out of this drive.
David Dunn in motion. Blake, incomplete. No flag. Jesse Armstead right on top of Tony McGee, and Blake wanted a flag.
Yeah, and Bruce Cosman is waving his offensive troops back out on the field at 1-6. If you don't start to put wins together back to back to back now, you have no choice of postseason play. And this team was 1-6 a year ago when Cosman took over for Shula. They go 7-2 at the end of the season. Everyone thought that they'd be a playoff contender. They find themselves in this hole. They've got nothing to worry. They're throwing all the dice on the table.
4th and 8. Blake, sacked. Michael Strahan, 2nd sack of the game for the Giants.
And that may not go down as their 3rd turnover in their 3rd set of downs, but that's as big as a turnover, that sack, the subsequent fumble. Strahan is a guy who will make the Pro Bowl this year. There's some question marks about who to vote for on this team. I vote for Strahan. His 2nd sack of the game, his 9th of the season. The guy is getting it done, and he has that Reggie White move down better than Reggie White does.
So the Giant defense comes up big on a 4th down. They still trail 21-16.
NBC.
Party on.
Giants first down, Charles Way. Way breaks a tackle. Way loses the football. Callaway had it and lost it as well. And the Giants recovered.
You can just see we got a player down. It's like it's like Ashley Ambrose, who was down at the bottom of that pile.
Francis strips Way of the ball. Callaway had it and then lost it. The Giants catch a huge break. 1st and 10 now at the Bengal 43. Way again. Barrels down to the 28-yard line. 14-yard pickup for Charles Way. And he has become a real feature in this Giant offense with the injuries. First to Rodney Hampton, Tyrone Wheatley, Tiki Barber. They stay with Way. Way again. Brought down at about the 22 by Sam Shade. 7-yard gain.
We mentioned at the outset of the broadcast that the Bengals are short on the defensive line. Down to 4 defensive linemen. Copeland, the starter at left end, he's out for the ball game. His backup, Stallings, he's out. So consequently, when you go down the roster to these guys who are special teams guys and filling guys, you lose quality of play.
Boy, this time taking down Kimo Van Alhoffen makes the play. Bengals without Rico McDonald. He has a twisted knee. He won't be back. Also, Darnay Scott, he won't return as well. Scott has a cracked rib. He was playing with a flak jacket. So the Bengals injury problems continue. However, 3 quarters complete. Bengals still lead 21-16. Giants have a 3rd and 5 coming up at the Cincinnati 24. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
Giants 3rd and 5 at the Bengal 24. Kannell in the shotgun. Complete. Callaway. 1st down and more. Callaway trying to get into the end zone and just shy at the 1-yard line. 23-yard gain. Callaway's 5th catch of the day.
You can measure a guy's size, his speed, and his strength. What you can't measure somebody's skill and how well they play the game of football. Chris Callaway just seems to play it better than anybody else on the field right now today.
Greg Myers missed a tackle, and Callaway for the 2nd straight week making some big plays. 1st and goal at the 1. The pitch to Wheatley. Wheatley gets in. Touchdown, Giants.
You know, we think so much in terms of dollars and cents and what round a guy was drafted in and what his salary cap number is. But Tyrone Wheatley tells me everything I need to know about him after that play is over, when he comes back out on the field to celebrate with his teammates. You know, a lot of guys will spike the ball, do their little dance that they've been working on for the last 3 months. No, he goes, gets with one of the linemen who got him in the end zone.
That is refreshing to see. No question there. Giants have called timeout. Wheatley's 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. And let's not forget, he's playing with a painful shoulder injury. Giants now lead 22-21. And again, the 1 extra point won't mean a thing, so they'll go for the 2-point conversion. And of course, coming up, part of our doubleheader, Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Steelers who beat the Bengals last week. Part of the NFL on NBC. Kannell pumps, lobs it in, and Sam Shea picks it off. And the Giants now 0 for 2 on 2-point conversions. The lead remains 22-21. Danny Kannell and the Giants coming up big in the 2nd half.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by the 97 Mitsubishi Eclipse. It makes waves, built for living. By Radio Shack, you've got questions, we've got answers. And by Aetna Retirement Services, built for retirement, managed for life.
Brad DeLuiso and the Giants leading 22-21. Opening minute, fourth quarter. David Dunn. Dunn straight up the middle and taken down. Ryan Phillips makes the tackle. Dunn gets up to about the 29-yard line, 30-yard return. Giants trailed this one 21-10 at halftime, but have come up with a pair of touchdowns. Let's go to Len Berman.
All right, Mike, we're wondering about the weather. A steady rain is coming down, but the great news here is there's no wind whatsoever, which is rare for the Meadowlands, so it's coming straight down, but I don't think it's going to be a big factor yet.
This place can be very difficult in the rain and the wind. Jeff Blake, Corey Dillon whacked immediately as soon as he touched it. Jason Sehorn with the tackle.
And I mentioned earlier about the fact that 11 New York Giants have sacks. It's because they bring the corner. They'll bring the corner on a corner blitz. That time Sehorn coming on a corner blitz. And he got in and puts a big lick on Dillon. Dillon's lucky he held on to the football.
Sehorn has a sack this year. Second and 10, McGee in motion. Blake, a quick drop, he's under pressure. Throws, he's got Dillon out of the backfield. Dillon escapes a couple of tacklers. Here goes Corey Dillon. And gets all the way up to midfield. Finally stopped by Corey Whitmer and Michael Strahan, a 22-yard pickup.
And that's one of those plays that you'll find on the Bengals highlight film. It'll be in super slow motion. You'll watch Corey Dillon. Blake gets flushed out of the pocket, does a good job in finding one of the outlet receivers. Dillon, easy to run out of bounds there and pick up 6 or 7 yards.
Penalty markers as we come back as Dillon goes up the middle. And Bernie Kukar, him and his crew, been very, very busy today. Giants with their 9th penalty.
Offside, number 57 on the defense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Corey Miller.
You'll hear a lot of coaches, that's 9 penalties against the Giants. You'll hear a lot of coaches tell you, you'll get beat mentally before you will physically. And the mental errors, lining up offsides, missing an assignment, those are the things that really kill a football team.
So first and 5. John Carter, him and Dillon have rotated, and Carter maybe gets a yard. Sam Garnes slowed him down in the backfield.
The strength of this team has been its defense. When they were 1-3, they're playing pretty good defense, waiting for the offense to turn things around. They played well defensively today. They gave up the big play at the end of the half. And other than the kickoff return, they haven't yielded a lot to the Bengals other than the opening drive of the ballgame.
They've forced a lot of turnovers this season as well, including 2 here in the second half. And Carter goes absolutely nowhere. Jesse Armstead among the Giants making the tackle. John Fox, first year as defensive coordinator. Mike Nolan was the coordinator last year under Dan Reeves and did a very good job. Nolan now with the Redskins. Fox has changed them up a little bit more of an attacking style, and the players have really accepted it and run with it.
Yeah, he preaches think, react, and attack. He says you don't have to be fast to play good defense, you just have to react fast.
3rd and 4. Bieniemy. And Bieniemy very close to a first down. We'll see where they mark it.
Bieniemy gets the ball there. He's 5'7". You give the ball to Corey Dillon, who's about 6'2", and he's a lot closer to the first down there because he's about 7 inches taller than Bieniemy. They have a 4th down here. They have nothing to lose by going for this.
Bruce Coslett has tried to stay positive through the 6-game losing streak. Says, I've got to stay on an even keel if I expect them to continue to play hard. And they'll go for it on 4th and 1. Crowd trying to fire up the defense. Blake out to Carter. Armstead brings him down. What a play from Armstead.
We saw the Bengals practice that play when we covered them in week 2 at practice. Jeff Blake fakes into the line of scrimmage as if he's going to run a quarterback sneak. He throws the ball backwards to Kajana Carter. They're hoping that the defense bites on it. Armstead, he's been doing his homework.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza, delivering 1 million smiles a day. Call for pizza now and share a smile during the game.
Bengals have gone for it on 4th down 3 times today. Twice the Giant defense has stopped them, once a touchdown. That a big stop. As Charles Way gets the handoff. Way still chugging along. James Francis takes him down after maybe a yard. When you're 1-6, you try different things, and that 4th down play did not work for Bruce Cosley.
Yeah, and you know he'll be criticized and razzed and all that. And talking to Cosley and Blake, they've advised their teammates, don't read the paper, don't listen to the radio, don't watch the news reports on television. Just go about our business and try and win some ball games.
Kannell under fire, gets it out to Wheatley. Penalty marker thrown. Wheatley with a big gain here. Wheatley still on his feet. Another marker down. Wheatley taken down to the 33, but they're going to bring that one back.
That play is going to come back, but I think in Tyrone Wheatley's development, a play like that is good for him. Catches a low pass on the screen, and then he bowls over people. This is a guy who was maligned by Dan Reeves for not doing this, not being that. But Tyrone Wheatley, I think, is showing something to himself. You know, in the back of his mind, he knew that he could still play football, but he had to get those thoughts in the back of his mind to the front, where he would actually develop into a good NFL running back.
Penalty, 83, holding. That penalty is declined.
Scott Gregg on the holding. David Patton also.
Yeah, you get both guys kind of, you know, it gets outside the framework of the body, and then he takes him down.
So Oben. Giants with a host of penalties on that one. Now they have a 2nd and 18. And back to Wheatley. Jim Foster said when he arrived, Wheatley had a chip on his shoulder and was lacking confidence, and that is really turning around. Kannell again out of the backfield, this time Way. And Way dives across the 40, taken down by Billy Granville.
That's the second pass that Danny Kannell has laid out where his running backs have had to stretch out to catch the football. And both Tyrone Wheatley and Charles Way have shown very soft and supple hands, and there's a light drizzle coming down, and that's the time when this ball starts to get slick. But both guys have hung on to the football. You see it spurting out when it hit the ground there. You see the little beads of rain on the top of the helmets. But the ball can get slick at this juncture with the weather going on like this.
Rain's been drizzling through much of the second half. 3rd and 10. Bengals blitzing. Kannell has time, though, and throws it short. Intended for Callaway. Ashley Ambrose right there.
And Danny Kannell tried to guide that ball in instead of stepping up and throwing the football. The Bengals tried to come after him with some heat, but they don't get to him. His offensive line stands their ground. They wall people off. You got to throw it. One of the things about Danny Kannell, who lasted until the 4th round, a lot of people wondered about his arm strength. They thought that he might have been a product of the system at Florida State. In that time, he didn't show the zip on the ball that you would expect a guy who used to have a 92-mile-an-hour fastball to have.
Maynard just gets it off. James Hunden was close. Greg Myers calls for a fair catch and then fumbles, but falls back on it. Bengals will take over at their own 25, trailing 22-21.
When you start to get a light rain, the gloves get wet. Guys don't want to use their hands. They want to try and use their body to catch the ball. That's what punt returner Greg Myers does. Almost causes a turnover.
Corey Dillon on 1st down. Gets maybe 2. Felipe Sparks and Jesse Armstead in on the stop. Bengals came out strong in this one, made some big plays in the first half, something they have not done this season. They had a kickoff return, 102 yards. Eric Bieniemy went for a touchdown. Then they had a 4th and 5 from the 39 for a touchdown. Led 21-10 at halftime. But 2 turnovers in the second half has the Giants leading 22-21. 2nd and 8. Blake overthrows Battaglia.
And missed a guy who was wide open Blake tried to get him the ball in a hurry instead of putting a little touch on the football and just dropping it right on the body. And he's frustrated with himself. He knows that he missed a chance for a big play right there.
Battaglia, who had the best game of his career right here on this field, came as a senior in college at Rutgers, caught 3 touchdowns against Penn State. Starting to come on in his second year in the NFL. He backs up Tony McGee. Now right now the Bengals with a big play, 3rd and 8. Blake, incomplete, intended for Battaglia. 4th down coming up. And Lee Johnson will come on to punt. There's still 7:47 remaining. They will not go for it on 4th down here, certainly.
Jeff Blake is back in the pocket. He's looking. He throws the ball downfield, and it's just a little too low for Battaglia. If he flattens that route off a little bit, maybe he has a chance to get up under and cradle that ball, but the gloves are wet. Trying to catch in the body, you got no chance.
Lee Johnson, short kick. Amani Toomer calls for a fair catch at the 31. 42-yard punt. Giants take over. They lead by 1 here in the 4th. A father's work is never done. Giants now with 1st and 10. Charles Way. Maybe a yard. Giant defense coming up very big here in the second half. Bengals led 21-10 at halftime. Have yet to score in the second half. There's the time remaining. Both teams with 2 timeouts left. Still plenty of time. Giants have won 4 in a row. Bengals have dropped 6 straight. Play fake. Kannell going downfield. It's caught. What a catch from Alexander. How did he hold that one in? Tito Paul was all over him.
Sometimes you play defense so well and there's just no justice at all. Tito Paul running stride for stride with Alexander. He looks back for the ball. Alexander looks back for the ball. Tito Paul continues on his merry way, and somehow Kevin Alexander comes up with the football. Just in that left arm, only one arm he used to catch that ball.
Well, that is a tremendous catch. Alexander, 5 catches, 100 yards. And the Giants have the ball now at the Bengals 28. Charles Way stopped by Van Alhoffen.
When was the last time that the Giants had 100-yard receivers back-to-back, 2 different guys? I mean, you know, this is not a team that is known as air giants. Danny Kannell talked about him only being a 51% passer for the season, but he seems to come up with the key pass at the correct time. The guy just has a knack for making the big play.
And Tom Tumulty, who's been suffering from a deep thigh bruise, now banged up in another way. Tumulty has really come on for this team his second year out of Pittsburgh. 6th-round pick last year, started 3 games as a rookie, and this year in the starting lineup. One of those throwback type players, just loves to play, plays hurt.
Yeah, and he's trying to flex out that right arm. He, you know, may have one of those burners or stingers. And this guy grew up watching Jack Lambert and Ham play, and you know, when you grow up like that, you grow up to be tough. He probably hates sitting down on the football field now. He's going to sit there until he feels better, and then he's going to argue with them about the fact that he has to leave for one play. He doesn't want to leave the football field.
I'm sure of it. He's from Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, which is about 9 miles east of Pittsburgh. He says the obsession of the Steelers, where he comes from, is incredible. In fact, even his fans or his friends who are Steeler fans, they don't want to hear anything about the Bengals. They just want to talk Steelers.
Well, they came to watch him play last week. Cincinnati, half of them would have on a Bengal T-shirt and a Steeler hat. They say, yeah, we're your buddy, but we're still going to root for the Steelers. We'll do it quietly. We'll root for you to play well, but we want the Steelers to win.
He must be in a lot of pain because, again, he's one of those guys that plays hurt. 2nd and 9. Giants leading 22-21. Charles Way has some blockers ahead of him. And Way taken down. Billy Granville makes the tackle. Well, let's shoot over to New York in the studios, get an update from Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, Mike, in Buffalo, the Bills making a battle of it. Alex Van Pelt, 31 yards out. Quinn Early leaping catch in the end zone. Van Pelt's second touchdown of the afternoon with the extra point. The Broncos are up now by a field goal, under 2.5 to play in regulation, Mike.
You know, we talked about them and having to go through the travel problems. They didn't get the sleep that they're used to getting the night before. They get out to a big lead, start to get a little fatigued. You've only had 4 or 5 hours of sleep and very disheveled travel schedule.
3rd and 4 for the Giants. Kannell running himself, and he's tripped up. Kimo Van Olhoffen makes the tackle, and they pile on. And Kannell with the first down.
And you've heard the term touchdown saving tackle. That's a touchdown saving tackle by Kimo. If he doesn't get him, we see what kind of dance that Danny Kannell has when he gets to the end zone. Very nice call by Jim Fossil. Spread out the whole defense. Had this guy straight up the middle. Then he gets stepped on by his own guy at the tail end of the play. How's that for gratitude? I get the first down. One of the big guys steps on me.
Under 4.5 to play. Wheatley hit right away and thrown for a loss. Andre Collins on the tackle. Collins having to play some extra. Rico McDonald, as we mentioned, a knee injury and is done for the day.
Yeah, there are some guys who just like to play football. Collins has been in the league a long time, relegated to more of a special teams duty now. Loves throwing his body around, and that time he threw all of his body into Tyrone Wheatley.
Collins, who won a Super Bowl ring with the Redskins.
Don't remind me of that. You're not supposed to bring that up.
2nd and 13. Kannell looks downfield, incomplete, and there's the flag. Ashley Ambrose is going to be called for interference on Callaway.
The head linesman, the side linesman, the back judge, they all got the flags in that time, and they all land at about the same spot. They're all 3 flags are lined up on the 9-yard line. Callaway makes a break inside of Ambrose. Ambrose gets that left arm around his waist.
That's the first down.
Starts to do the little pull. It's the pull from the left arm and the slap with the right arm. The pull and the slap. Pull, slap.
I get the
pull,
idea.
Slap.
That's enough.
If you go play in the park, you'll know how to defend the pass.
And Bruce Coslett has watched Ambrose get 2 pass interference penalties, 3 on the Bengal defense. And that gives the Giants 1st and goal at the 3. Wheatley. Tyrone Wheatley, touchdown Giants.
And Tyrone Wheatley says they like me. They really like me.
His 2nd touchdown of the day. And this is a very big extra point. It's 28-21. Now Luiso has missed an extra point this season. Not this time. And Tyrone Wheatley playing with the painful bruised shoulder. His 2nd score of the 2nd half.
Bishop, Scott, Stone, the 3 inside guys, the center, and the guard just take care of this. They move people out of the way. They give Tyrone Wheatley a chance to pick his hole, to decide where he wants to run the football. Just bodies on top of bodies, and Tyrone Wheatley getting those shoulders down and driving toward the end zone. If anyone has emerged in this ball game, I think it's been Tyrone Wheatley. The effort that he's shown. We pointed earlier in the ball game, he had a chance to run wide for the corner, turns, he cuts it up, tries to stick it up in there. Tyrone Wheatley is really starting to mature as a player, and you have to credit Jim Fossil. We asked him, when you took over this team, did you sit down with all the guys? He said, no, I didn't. There were some guys who had a history here, who had maybe some problems who hadn't gotten good press, who had not gotten along with Dan Reeves well, and I sat down with those guys. And one of those guys was Tyrone Wheatley. And I talked to him and I said, you can become a great player, but you're going to have to work for it.
There's our Miller Time game summary. Halftime score was 21-10. Giants have outscored the Bengals 19-0 here in the second half. Bieniemy gets a running start on the split kick. And Bieniemy still on his feet, finally tripped up. Looked like Doug Coleman maybe reaching out a 20-yard return. And Jeff Blake, who last season was known for the dramatic finishes, won a lot of games in the closing seconds. He's got to get downfield. They've got to score a touchdown and go for a two-point conversion. But there's still plenty of time. 3:16 remaining. They have 2 timeouts left.
But the Giants have done a good job in holding Carl Pickens, Jeff Blake's favorite receiver, in check today.
Blake slips over the middle, broken up by Tito Wooten. There's the flag. The flag comes in, and Wooten's with some contact. Another
pass interference. Number 29 on the defense. First down.
Yeah, but the difference between this play and the play at the end of the half is Tito Wooten is at least there to make the play. Wooten will tell you, I have as much right to the football as Carl Pickens does. You just can't go through Pickens to get it.
Bengals in Giant territory. Blake for the sideline. Complete. James Hunden hauls it in right at the 40-yard line. 9-yard pickup.
We mentioned Darnay Scott not available, so James Hunden is getting some extended playing time. Hunden, a guy who trains with Jerry Rice during the offseason, and maybe some of that training will pay off for Hunden.
2nd and 1. And right now, the clock has stopped saying 3:01.
I think we're going to have a measurement. We've had a couple today, and the chain gang guys are going to have to get in condition, because that's what a 53 1/3 yard run. You know, he's not out of bounds. Well, his helmet falls out of bounds before he gets touched down. As soon as any part of your body is out of bounds, the clock starts. You can put one little finger out of bounds and the rest of you is in bounds, but you're out of bounds.
I think that makes sense.
Even though his body was down because he hadn't been tapped down, and his momentum is still sliding because the field is slick, the field's dry, it's like Velcro. He stops. The field gets a little wet, you can slide on it. Remember, Terry Bradshaw used to slide through the defense. Now they make that rule when the quarterback slides, he's down.
So 2nd and 1, and the clock stopped. And Bengals 2 timeouts left, plus the 2-minute warning. Complete over the middle. David Dunn is mauled at about the 35 and thrown back. Scott Gallion and Jesse Armstead on the tackle. Dunn's 3rd reception.
Yeah, you know, time is not a factor here. The biggest question mark is what play, if you get a touchdown, can you go for 2 on?
Haslett yelling to mark the ball there. Excuse me, James. Bieniemy cuts back inside. It's down to about the 29-yard line. Jason Sehorn making the tackle. 29-21. Blake to Brian Milne. Milne has some room in front of him. And Milne gets the first down at the 21. And a penalty marker. So right next to the ball there. This could be a crucial call.
It's that 5-yard face mask penalty. Got that hand up on the face mask.
5-yard face mask penalty on the defense. We'll add it to the end of the run. First down.
You know, a guy who we haven't talked about a lot in this ball game is Milne, but he's a good receiver out of the backfield. Maybe not your classic pass catcher that you think about in the 2-minute drill, but sure hands, gets the ball downfield, and then picks up an extra 5 yards with the penalty.
12 Giant penalties. Bengals 1st and 10. Blake has to throw it away. Pickens was covered perfectly by Jason Sehorn.
And you heard the people oohing and ahhing there. He almost got that ball into the stands. If he gets into the stands, they erupt and go wild.
The 2-minute warning. Bengals still with 2 timeouts left. It has been a long, difficult first half of the season for Bruce Coslett and the Bengals. They've lost 6 in a row. This is a team that had playoff aspirations. And right now, they have 2nd and 10, trailing by 8, 2 minutes to go in the 4th quarter on the road. Blake fires complete, and Hunden gets out of bounds. Down to the 9-yard line. Philippi Sparks runs him out.
You know, this all comes down to the 2 missed 2-point conversions that the Giants attempted. If the Bengals can get in, score 6, and what do you take out of that bag of tricks to try and get a 2-point play? They haven't been very successful, either team.
3rd and 3. Blake, complete, and Hunden again.
He's got the first down, and he's tackled inbound, so the clock is still running.
And the Bengals will call a timeout, so they have 1 remaining. They'll mark the ball at the 4-yard line, a 1st and goal at the 4. And again, they need the touchdown and the 2-point conversion.
And we've watched Blake go to Hunden, a guy who's a backup. Darnay Scott had been the original starter at that position. Hunden has better hands than Scott. He has more confidence throwing the ball to him right now.
Of course, the Giants, 2 of their touchdowns went for the 2-point conversion, failed on both. 2 points they could have used right now. The rain continues to fall. The fans are wet, but they're chanting defense.
You know, when you get down here this close, obviously they have time to run the football in. You look for your big physical players. Tony McGee at tight end. Carl Pickens at wide receiver. David Dunn, very, very big wide receiver.
Blake fires. And again, Jason Sehorn, excellent coverage. And Blake hit hard. The receiver intended was David Dunn. And Blake hobbling once again. It looked like he had turned his ankle earlier in the game when he was running to call a timeout. And don't forget, a couple of weeks ago, his right big toe was injured. Second and goal at the 4. Under pressure, gets away. Did he get in? Touchdown! Bengals score! And now they have to go for the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, as elated as Jeff Blake wanted to be, that's only the first half of the equation there. They sent Kajana Carter out in motion as a decoy, but more than a decoy, to define what the coverage is going to be. Just a straight zone coverage. They left everyone there to cover. Jeff Blake has no option but to pull it down. See him limping off.
And the Bengals
courageous effort by Blake.
They call their final timeout. And when we spoke with him yesterday, we need to make the big plays. And that one huge, but they've got one more they have to come up with right now.
If the Bengals cannot convert the 2-point conversion, obviously they go for an onside kick. If they do recover it, plenty of time left on the clock to function, to get down and within Doug Pelfrey's range.
You look at his face, James. He looks exhausted.
Yeah, well, I think it's the wear and tear of 6 straight losses.
Let's take a look.
You know, the officials have to make this call without the aid of...
Oh, his right knee went down.
Yeah, they make it without the aid of super slow motion. And that ball's just short of the goal line when his knee initially touches the ground. He gets the extra extension.
Blake lobs it in. No! Seaborn picks it off.
Not even close on that play. Carl Pickens, who had been like magic getting touchdowns. 40 touchdowns in the last 3 seasons. Only 3 scores for him here. They needed a score. He's expecting it outside. Blake throws it inside. He told him meet him on 5th Avenue. Blake is standing over on Broadway.
Oh, just heartbreaking for the Bengals. In the midst of a 6-game losing streak, they put together a fabulous drive, put it in the end zone. And now they've got to go for the onside kick. They are out of timeouts. Giants just need to make sure they secure possession of the football on the kick, and this one would be over.
Well, last week the Giants pull off a thriller in overtime with the pass from Kannell to Callaway. Now all they have to do is recover the onside kick, and the guy who's lined up on that side where the kick is going to be headed is none other than Chris Callaway.
Callaway does a little bit of everything. Even last week when he called the coin flip, and that was right. Pelfrey, and look who gets it, Chris Callaway. Very fitting for the New York Giants.
You know, you look at his reception totals for today. Maybe he didn't get a 100-yard game. The interference call against Ambrose that helped them set up that last go-ahead touchdown. And then Chris Callaway, he has a pretty nice vertical jump, too. Maybe he did that really well at the combine.
And the Giants will just kneel this one out. Bengals, no more timeouts. 1:29 remaining. Giants will win their 5th in a row. Jim Fossil, what a job he has done with this team after the 1-3 start. Now in sole possession of first place. Happened last week, and they'll stay there with this week's victory as they improve to 6-3 with a bye week coming up.
Well, he says he does a radio program in Manhattan on Monday nights. And he said after the first week of the season, he went, invited some friends, and they were the only people in the restaurant.
Maybe one table full.
Yeah, and last week, standing room only.
Here in New York, so much publicity around Bill Parcells and the resurgent Jets. And the Giants very quietly have turned things around. Well, what a job he has done in his first year as a head coach of the NFL.
And I would really have to think that people in Dallas, Jerry Jones and his Cowboys and Ray Rhodes and his Philadelphia Eagles, they're all looking up at this ball club and trying to figure out when, in terms of the schedule, they're going to be able to catch the New York Giants.
And the crowd is wet, but they're on their feet. While the Giants win their 5th in a row. A heartbreaking loss for the Cincinnati Bengals. They dropped their 7th straight. Now 1-7 on the season for the Bengals. Coming up next on most of these NBC stations, it's game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. There's our final score from Giant Stadium. Giants 29 and the Bengals 27.
Falling on Barry Switzer and everybody else at the vet. Bad news for the Cowboys. First quarter, Troy Aikman sacked by Willie Thomas, hit in the head by Jimmy Jones, left the game with a strained neck and mild concussion and did not return. 12-6 Dallas in the 4th, less than a minute to play. Rodney Peete to rookie tight end Chad Lewis, 8-yard touchdown. The point after, which is not always so certain, was good for the Eagles today. They win it 13-12, and the Cowboys struggle.
And you know, Rodney Pete's the only guy that I know that works less than we do. I mean, we kind of sit around here till halftime. We do about 3 minutes. Rodney Peete went 3.5 quarters of the game for the 2nd consecutive week. And then, oh, by the way, last couple minutes, I'll go ahead and win the football game. It's been amazing.
You have such a way with words.
Thank you very much.
At the Meadowlands, the New York Giants come up winners today over the Bengals, 29-27. Jim Fossil's crew looking for their fifth straight win. They led by 8, less than 2 minutes to play. 29-21, second and goal. Jeff Blake on the quarterback keeper. Watch him stretch for the end zone and get there. And the Giants' lead is down to 29-27. 2-point attempt. Blake's pass is picked off in the end zone by Jason Sehorn. 7 straight losses for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Giants improved to 6-3. That's a pretty good story.
It is. And Chris Collinsworth may not know what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing, but Jim Fossil knows what the New York Giants are doing. I tell you, this guy is really doing a tremendous job. Needs a little bit more conversation about what he's doing in New York. The move that he made with Dave Brown and going with Danny Kannell, 5-1 when Danny Kannell either starts or plays in that first half.
And the Giants are riding a 5-game winning streak in Washington. Baltimore has beaten the Redskins 20-17, the score there. In New Orleans, the Saints shut out for a second straight week. The Niners did it today, 23-0. And in St. Louis, Kansas City moves to 6-2 on the year with a 28-20 win over the Rams. This reminder coming up after football.